Here's the grinder I was talking about. I do a lot of cutting on this particular setup. I've got this pedestal and then a stand and then a car wheel. I've used this for a long time, and it works pretty good, and it's not real dangerous. I would highly recommend you always use goggles and a heavy pair of gloves and a breathing mask, either a respirator or at least some kind of high quality breathing mask. And right here is where I do the cutting, and it's really effective, and it really won't take you very long. I would say within an hour you should have your axe profiled, and it's good to always have plenty of fresh air and keep safety in mind. Okay, once you get your axe profiled, you can kind of clean up the sides with the 80 grit belt. As you'll notice, I got my patterns laying on top of these axes that I've got profiled. I've already center punched this one right here and drilled it. And I started out with a 1/8 inch drill bit and kind of stepped up to a 7/32. It's a little easier if you'll kind of pre-drill your holes with a smaller drill bit and at least get a hole drill through this hard metal. And this 7/32 drill bit is it's the right diameter for the sleeve on that screw type rivet. And then on this one particular axe, I drilled a 5/16 hole here for a lanyard hole. And the way I'm going to set my handles in there, I'm going to start my handle back here on this line right here and leave this the steel right there, just on this particular one. This other one up here will be a little bit different. So I've got a set of calipers there that measure my pins, and there's the different drill bits, and a little advice on drilling holes in the tang of an axe like this, especially made out of a plow disc. The material has been heat treated at the factory on the plow disc, but I went through the process of softening it, but it's still a very hard metal, even though it's been softened the way I softened it. So go ahead and drill your holes in the tang now, and then in just a little bit it'll be time to hammer the edge onto the axe itself. As you'll notice, this axe cleaned up pretty well with that abrasive wheel, and then I went around it just lightly with the 80 grit belt on my 2x72 sander. Now is a good time to rough out the micarta handles, and what I'm going to do here is draw around this with a pencil and make a right and left handle and kind of match them up and get them drilled and make sure they fit on there before I epoxy them on there. But I'll set these aside because I've got some more heating to do on this this axe. So this is just a good time to kind of rough these handles out and kind of get them starting to fit on to the axe itself. And right up here at the front, I'll use this flux bottle as that's about the shape I want the front of my handle right there. In the back, it had to be cut off just a little bit. But anyway, I'm going to rough this out on that abrasive wheel. It cuts it out pretty quick that way. And so I'll rough it out, and then I'll grind down to my line and pair those up and kind of start fitting them to the axe. Okay, I've got the two axes in the propane forge here. Now I'm going to go ahead and heat the blade portion up and hammer a edge on there. The edge end up kind of convex, but rather than grinding it down, I'd rather kind of hand forge the edge on there. After I get the edge hammered on there like I want, it'd be a good time to inspect the handle and make sure it's straight. I'll alternate these two axes back and forth till I get them hammered out like I want them. As soon as that cools off, you need to put it back in the forge and let it get hot again and not beat out steel that's not red hot.